Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How AI and Natural Language Processing Can Address Customer Concerns in the COVID-19 Era, presented by Andrea Kulkarni and Felix Said. I'm Victoria Schaefer, Senior Membership Manager at HFTP. If you are collecting continuing education credit today, please note that you will need to self-report your credit for this webinar through your HFTP account. Today, we welcome Felix Said, co-founder and CEO of MyHotel, and Andrea Kulkarni, Lexalytics Vice President of Marketing. Andrew draws upon 20 years of diverse experience in designing and developing business and education software. At Lexalytics, she leads a variety of initiatives spanning product and market positioning, documentation, web analytics, growth marketing, and CRM operations. Previous to Lexalytics, Andrea worked as a consultant to tech companies where she helped design and evaluate products and programs that employed emergent technologies in various settings. She also advised educational and research institutions such as SRI International and Stanford University. Andrea holds a degree in learning design and technology from Stanford University. Felix Said has a history of entrepreneurship and experience in co-founding and building SaaS B2B companies and has focused on developing AI models in the hospitality, retail, and banking sectors. Felix is currently the co-founder and CEO of MyHotel, the leading customer experience platform in Latin America, with more than 1,000 clients in 22 countries, and the co-founder and director at Dumont, the leading payment collections platform for SMEs in Chile. His areas of interest include data analytics, product design, and marketing. Thanks for being with us today, Andrea and Felix. I will hand the floor over to you to begin your presentation.
Thank you so much. We've had a lovely introduction, so I'll skip through this screen quickly. And as we said, Lexalytics has a long history serving the social listening and hospitality market, processing millions of documents every day. Felix, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. On MyHotel, we measure customer experience in any channel, like mailing, SMS, Wi-Fi, or web page at any stage, pre, during, and post-stay. And with Lexalytics, we process and classify all the feedback that we receive from multiple channels to optimize the process of addressing guest complaints and requests.
Thanks, Felix.
So here I would like to talk about what everybody's feeling in this COVID era. We are in a new reality till we find a vaccine or a reliable treatment. And all our clients have told us they are planning for the worst. We are planning to recover COVID numbers in Q1 on 2022, but hoping for the best. So you have some things like maximum occupation rates following local government regulations that could be in turn of 35 to 40%. You have also some things like domestic travel going up. Some of our clients in Mexico, for example, are showing pre-COVID numbers for domestic travel. And there's a new paradigm that we should look in this transition point is to calculate a new equilibrium point. And that's a new equilibrium point not only on being profitable, but compared to getting your hotel shut it down. How much money you're losing compared with your hotel being shuttered, and the effect that open your hotel will create on the local or regional parts you're located, on your employees, and all that stuff. So the other important thing is the interest that we see here, for example, that 70% of the hotel searches of destinations are within a 500-mile radius, is important because we conducted a survey also for 5,000 travelers inside hotels, and 70% of them, also 75% of them, declared they wanted to travel within the next 6 months. So people want to travel, they are constrained, and we need to be prepared for a new reality where you have higher costs on one side, you have lower rates on the other side, and you need to serve a lower demand.
Thanks, Felix. So especially in the current climate, the easiest money is going to be in your returning customers. So we propose that you listen to them via your social channels, and they're going to tell you what works and what doesn't. If they feel comfortable to return, they're going to spread the word to others. We're going to move into how to gather and prepare data for a voice of customer program. At the beginning of a voice of customer program, you decide who will be responsible for the overall management of guest feedback. Ideally, you're going to have someone who is impartial to the interests of your individual departments, as each of the departments will feel internal pressure to focus on their particular areas of interest, driving decisions towards what helps them look good. The responsible party should be working to provide common metrics that everyone will understand. I'm going to turn this over to Trevor for the poll question.
Very good, very good. On your screen, you should see the first polling question for today. Who is responsible for managing customer feedback in your organization? Please submit the option that you feel is the best fit, and we will reveal results in about 10 seconds. All right, at this time, pretty even split. 33% of audience members have selected marketing, 33% have selected operations, and 33% have selected customer experience. All right, back to you.
Thanks, Trevor. So the next step is to identify a question. And what you're looking for is a very good specific question, which is going to help you focus on what's in your data. We suggest things like, what are the top concerns and expectations of my customers, especially around what would make them comfortable returning to your property, in the pandemic and after the pandemic. Another question would be, what changes should we make to our hotel rooms next quarter? Something else, what do guests think about the bathroom? You want to think about making it very specific. If you really don't know about something specific, try a little bit broader. Something about, we have a location that's underperforming. Let's look at the feedback from customers in the past year and see what's different, maybe compare it to the comments from our other locations and try to figure out why this one is underperforming. And I emphasize, be sure to define the time period that you're looking at. When you get further into a voice of customer program, you would need to compare time periods so that you can tell, are things staying the same over time? Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? So you're just going to keep track of things. Now remember, don't make it too broad. A general question like, what's in my reviews, is too ambiguous. It's not focused enough on the time period, and it's just going to lead to confusion. So the next step is to select the source or sources of your data. There are many options to choose from. Unstructured data such as social media and online reviews have the opportunity for discovery versus surveys, which have a preset list of your usual questions of interest. But adding an open-ended question to your surveys will provide the same opportunity for discovery that you'd find in social media and reviews. A word of caution. Try not to give incentives for reviews, as that's going to skew your results away from genuine feedback. There's a sense of obligation to give a good review when you're receiving something in return, and many review sites will penalize you if they find out that you're offering an incentive.
We
Felix,
also
can you talk about surveys?
Of course, yeah. We also suggest to do an unstructured open question within stay, so you can address problems as soon as possible, and then be specific post-stay where your guest has more time to answer. Not to be so extended, but you need to be addressing at least one question for every department, so you can evaluate everything that is happening inside your property. And also, try not to ask things you already know. For example, if you have the information in the PMS and you already know their language or their country or their room number, or you should save your time to gather new data, not old data. So that's also a good tip to keep in mind. And the last thing is that you want to use the right timing. You don't want to send a satisfaction survey, for example, 2 months after they left your hotel, because they won't remember anything, and answers won't be so worth at that time. It's not actionable, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Back to you, Andrea.
Okay. So once you've chosen the channel source or sources of your data, determine whether you're going to carry out the data collection and analysis in-house or outsource to a solution provider. In-house tools may include regular online surveys or gathering social content by hiring a contractor to scrape it off of the social sites, or third-party aggregators such as Social Gist and Sprinkler have access to multiple online social media sites, and they can gather everything into one place for processing. You'll want to analyze the content, ideally with an analytics tool, and then report on the results, especially on the standard metrics you've agreed to track. Platform voice of customer providers such as MyHotel or Revenate provide all-in-one tools for collecting, reporting, and visualizing your voice of customer data. And finally, you may choose to just hire an outside provider to do all of the data collection, the analysis, and the reporting.
So yeah, just to comment on that, you need to balance between your budget and your response capacity. You need to take only what you can handle and then expand to more sources. So you don't want to open a communication channel, for example, a satisfaction survey within stay if you don't have people able to answer timely, especially to complaints that should be addressed within the first 24 hours, for example. So our tip is that you take only what you can handle, start small, and then grow to other communicational channels when you're ready.
Okay, we're turning over to Trevor for the next poll question.
Very good, very good. On your screen, you should see the second polling question. Are you using in-house data analysts or outsourcing? We'll give everybody, again, about 10 seconds to fill out this polling question. All right, very good. At this time, 100% of attendees have selected in-house. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Hopefully you've anticipated common problems before your data gathering starts, but just in case, have a look at your data checking for issues. Is the data in the language that you're analyzing? Have your competitors' social media advertisements inadvertently been included? Is there any irrelevant data because your keyword was too broad or you forgot to exclude some terms? Is there spam among your documents masquerading as legitimate content? Felix.
Yeah, it's important to understand if you have all the relevant metadata that is possible. In any particular channel, you would like to do all the cross information that you have. For example, break it down by room number, breaking down by location. Try to understand if it's a recurrent customer. All these things, if they are integrated, they can let you do better analysis in the long run and understand and double click on particular issues.
Okay. So whether you're working in-house or with an outside provider, take some time to add lists of specific entities that you like to detect, such as staff names, staff positions, menu items, locations, etc. Consider developing queries or other ways of classifying data. For example, we show queries here that Microsoft is using to monitor the COVID-19 related conversations. These queries are freely available for anyone to use and are linked in the presentation.
So also we also index those queries to specific departments. So you could relate one specific subject like breakfast to the operational department or the front desk department, and so you can construct metrics on how the performance is doing. It's important that everybody knows on how you're measuring them. So it's easier if you indexed everything to one or more departments.
Now we'll talk about how to process customer feedback and reviews using NLP. So depending on your question, you're going to examine the repeated themes, example, noise, and entities, for example, general manager, topics. In our hospitality pack, we have these topics such as staff general, food, breakfast, bathroom cleanliness. Look at the corresponding sentiment around each. For example, mentions of cleanliness over time. And what are you seeing? What's consistent over time? And what's new in the current climate?
It's also important to understand the advantages of having an algorithm looking at this, because it's objective. Like once you've read 100 reviews, you may forget what you saw on the first one. So an algorithm that is trained to look for these specific entities or subjects or topics, they will count them. They will try to objectively assign a metric of how negative or how positive it is, and then classify them if you have already indexed those topics within departments in a specific metric that you can develop. So it is important to understand what is consistent and what is repeated. The frequency, it's very important. Andrea is going to show you a specific example in a few slides where you will see that an algorithm lets you detect instantaneously when something is repeated. And that's important to prioritize. That's the most important thing that you should do.
So here's an example. We ran an analysis of 50,000 Best Western reviews from TripAdvisor using our hospitality industry pack. You'll notice the bars reflect the volume of reviews relevant to the topic area, and the coloring reflects the topic sentiment within the reviews. At first look, it looks really good, but it's time to go deeper to find opportunities to improve. Now we've filtered in to look at the topics in complaint reviews. We can see here that the staff general topic, which is the first one, is the most mentioned topic, and it has many strongly negative reviews. Experience reservations and facilities recreation pool, they both have relatively few negative reviews, so those may be minor issues.
You would also look to assign a weight to every review you see, so you can understand how much it is affecting your reputation. So, for example, you can have a strongly negative review, isolated review about breakfast, but you need to put that in context. How many reviews do you have in total, or how many entities an algorithm is able to detect? So you can understand the weight and then prioritize. That's very important. We always will be saying, check again and again what's consistent, what is repeated. And within those repeated issues, you would like to order them by two parameters, frequency and negative intensity. We're going to show you in another graph what we mean about negative intensity. Andrea, if you can show them in the next slide here. Perfect. Go ahead.
So here, we're looking closely at the topics and the themes to find the specific areas to focus on for the biggest impact. So note that the numbers at the bottom of the charts express how strongly negative the item is weighted. So here is negative 2.5 is the extreme on this cleanliness topic, and negative 3.5 is the extreme on the noise theme. So we can see here that there are issues with water damage, mildew smell, and air conditioning unit. So then we go and we spot check individual reviews to confirm the issues in context. And we can see highlighted in the red are the negative aspects. We've got air conditioner leaking on the carpet, moldy carpet, wet carpet, the room smelled, and then we have some mentions of bathroom doors being problematic. Then we're going to go look at our 5-star reviews that have some negative sentiment to further confirm whether the issues show up there. And you can see that these people are overall pretty happy, but within their reviews, there are some mentions of rudeness at the front desk, air conditioning being disgusting, wet carpet and moldy smell. And it's really important that you are checking individual reviews even when you have an algorithm, because they're going to help pull up some of those things where there's an opportunity for you to improve.
Yes, only to complement that, as Andrea said, ratings and text not always match as you would expect. So we are always trying not to detect the overall sentiment of the review, but it is more important to detect if there is an opportunity to improve. So as you said, Andrea, lots of good reviews have problems. You can get this 5-star review with huge problems to solve. So it is important to be checking these subjects, to be identifying what you're looking for inside the data, and not only let things run because you see that there's a 5-star review. You need to double check on it always. It's very important.
And the thing is that an automated system has an advantage because it's going to identify relevant and repeated issues, and especially tracking these over time. An automated system is going to be impartial as opposed to humans, because human memory is fragile and human recollection is unreliable. And there's going to be a tendency for humans to remember the things that are important individually to them, and not necessarily everything that the organization has agreed is important over time. So, drawing conclusions, think about what can you change and what really isn't realistic. What could you do to work around things you can't fix? For example, you don't have the money to fix your Wi-Fi. It's just going to remain slow. So an idea is try not to advertise on being great for business people. Emphasize the getaway aspect more, and what people can do instead of using the internet. And remember, data in isolation means nothing. You've identified an area of complaint, and you need to decide, is this getting better? Is it getting worse compared to my previous time period? How does this compare to my competition? Is this just sort of a standard complaint in this class of service? Then make a strategic decision about where you're going to put your money. Is it going to be into brand values? Is it distinguishing you from the competition? Is it improving your customer experience overall? And remember, make sure to track your changes over time so you know whether you're having improvement. Going back to the Best Western reviews, we have an opportunity here, right? They could improve by better front desk staff training, maintaining their air conditioners and maintaining their bathroom doors. This kind of regular maintenance is likely to remove these little irritations from, overall positive experience. So closing up, in the longer term, you're going to construct metrics to make sure that decisions are based on understandable feedback. Connect your feedback to a trackable number so you understand the size of the problem you're dealing with. One bad review shouldn't drive change, only a broader indication of a problem across your channels. Now, everyone thinks that their channel is more relevant. That can create frustration for your staff. So by having common metrics that everyone can understand, they'll understand what's driving decisions so they don't seem scattershot and irrational. And this is important, during a pandemic and during not a pandemic. So this advice should help you in both situations.
Yes, only to add on that, as Andrea says, you need to automatize as much as possible to liberate time for your team to manage, to analyze, to respond promptly. And in second hand, you need to prioritize. The truly important things take time and resources to be solved. So you need to be tracking those on time, like wrapping up to be consistent, the repeated issues. So it is important that you save time and automatizing and integrating as much as possible. And the last thing is that you need to share. Customer experience is understandable for anybody in the organization. Everybody understands a rating from 1 to 5 and things that need to be fixed. You need to create this common ground. You need to share these metrics amongst your organization for them to understand what it needs to be improved. And these systematic solutions bring objectiveness to the table. Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks, Felix. And that wraps up our presentation. And we can move to questions.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. So thank you, Andrea and Felix. If you have a question at this time, go ahead and post that under the Q&A, and we will start answering questions. Okay, so I do have a question. How do we evaluate reviews during COVID? Guest expectations are very different now. Should we start from scratch?
I think that you should start from understanding what the concerns are of your guests before the pandemic hit, so that you can see what is normal for your organization, and then analyze their feedback since the pandemic and see how things have changed. See what the new topics are, and see, also what has remained the same, so that you understand that that's just a constant for you. I think if you analyze only new feedback, then you may get unsettled by things which, if you look back in time, those issues have always been there.
Yes, and also there's new things. For example, with Lexalytics, we are working on a specific COVID-related queries to give them more importance, but to understand that it's also a transition. So for the next, 8 to 10 months, everybody's going to be worrying about safety issues. So you would like to be really, really into looking for things like safety protocols or for your employees using a mask or whatever you would like to ask. But you shouldn't change your whole feedback process, because as Andrea said, the things you needed to be improved in the hospitality experience are there before the pandemic. So you need to add a few things, be looking at some things that could cause real damage to your reputation. For example, if your employee is not wearing a mask, or if they don't have a protocol for safety issues, or maybe your breakfast is being served in an incorrect way. But one, it is transitional, and two, you only need to add on what you already are asking in some sense.
Okay, so I have. Go ahead.
People, as we said before, people do want to travel. They're tired of being stuck at home, but they want to travel safely. So whatever you can do to take care of those fears and show people that they can get away without a high degree of risk is going to help.
So I have like a twofold question that came in. Should we be concerned with how to survey with such a low occupancy rate? And then the second part of that is, besides finding problem areas, how can we find true gems or praise from our customers?
So I'm going to address the second part first. I showed in the example of the Best Western that we dove into complaints, but we also had a look at 5-star reviews. And you can look at where the sentiment is strongly positive and look at the themes and topics and entities. For example, you have a fabulous front desk. People mentioned that that's a delightful experience consistently. So those strongly positive themes, topics, and entities are going to stand out as well. So yes, please look at everything that's positive so that you can mark it against it, you can give feedback to staff, and you know what you're doing well, and you track it over time to make sure that the things that you're doing well remain consistently good. And then what was the first part of the question again? That was the low volume of survey responses?
Yes,
Felix, did you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, there's a low volume, and maybe it's not so representative. But you could also do a specific survey for the past guests, and you can get a lot of insights there. We did it with 2 chains, and we got 5,000 responses. You can project demand, you can project what they are looking for when they are travel. You could look for past problems that could be solved in the meantime you have low occupation. For example, if you need to change a protocol, if you need to change something inside the hotel, it's the time to do so. And also, we did an experiment in partnership with TripAdvisor, and inside the survey, for example, we put a widget so they can leave reviews on TripAdvisor, and those hotels receive a lot of good reviews, some bad reviews. So there's data in the past, as Andrea said, that can give you lights on what you should be looking for to improve. We did this survey for the last 6 months. It could be for the last 3 months pre-COVID, and you will get a lot of people responding because they don't have nothing to do at home, but they remember. They can give you some examples of things that were good, some things were bad when they stayed, and also you can populate your review sites so you can have a more updated profile when you're looking to open again.
And also on the review sites, I would suggest during this time to have someone who's dedicated, if you don't already, to responding to review concerns, because that shows that you're actively listening and wanting to meet your customers' needs.
Okay, I have a question specifically for Felix. Who in your company is responsible for analyzing the data? Is that operations, IT, or finance? We only have a couple of properties with limited staff right now.
Yes, I understand there's limited staff, so it depends. Our clients, when they have limited staff, they do it through operations because it's the most actionable data. It depends on what channels you're measuring. If you're measuring during stay, for example, operations should be the one in charge. Maybe if you're only measuring online reputation, you would like someone from marketing to respond promptly, but that's often too late. So it depends on the channels you have. We always try to recommend that operation takes over customer experience because they are the ones that can do something about the problems or complaints, and they can do a more trustworthy response to the guest, not like a copy-paste response. Because sometimes, for example, you leave those activities to marketing and someone from marketing is going to respond, sorry for that issue, it won't happen again, and then you have 3 or 20 TripAdvisor negative comments with the same response. So for a new guest hoping to book your hotel, that's a copy-paste response, they won't book your hotel. So if for example they receive a specific response that they will do something about it, or taking something specific from the problem and solving it, it's more efficient in that sense. So if you have short resources, I would do it through operations.
Great. I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. So we still have a few more minutes if you want to ask a question, or Andrea and Felix, do you have any final thoughts for today's presentation?
A few things that we didn't have so much time at the beginning. We've seen that domestic travel is coming back, that with the survey that we did to potential guests, people want to travel. So things are going to pass. It's like a message of hope in some sense. Some things that we realize in the data, that people need more information to book. They want to book more directly than this, like, not to be a cliché, but this new reality, this transition reality, is not like in the past they will go through booking and book a reservation and forget. They need more information. They need regulatory information. They need to know your flexibility in pricings or in changes that they may happen in the reservation. You need to be connected directly to the guest in some sense, to give them more security about your protocols, about your safety measures. They are looking for all that. So it may represent an opportunity to drive more domestic travel, as I said previously, but also to connect more directly to guests previous to their stay. They are looking for this connection because it isn't enough with the, like in the past, you go through Booking Expedia, book something, and you know that everything is going to work. There's a lot of steps that are in question mark today. Will my flight will be rescheduled? Will meet the maximum capacity when I'm there? Will I be able to get there, or they will open the restrictions for example, in Mexico, they recently opened the restriction for Americans to come to Mexico. But you need to understand the connections with the flights. And so there's a lot of information that wasn't responsibility of the hotel to provide, that now to drive conversions in a lower demand segment, you need to provide them. You need to provide that connection and listening to guest data because they are asking for those things.
Also, if you're marketing and you're promising certain levels of safety and safety measures, you need to make sure that the experience of the customer once they get to your property are consistent with the promises that you've made in advance. Because especially with the safety considerations now, if you're not in alignment, if you cannot live up to the promises, that is going to drive stronger negative feedback. And that is likely to discourage other customers from coming back to your property or trying you out. So only make promises that you're confident that you can deliver.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrea and Felix, for your excellent presentation today. This concludes our portion today. And Trevor, do you want to take it back over?
That sounds like a great plan. On behalf of HFTP, thank you all for attending today's program. This concludes our presentation, and you may now disconnect. If you'd like to submit for credit, you may need to refresh your page, and please return to submit your credit in the Credit Submission tab. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.